Good morning, everyone. Well, we saw an initial round of snow enter western Nebraska last night, and it worked across the state during the overnight hours, and it continues in eastern Nebraska early this morning, but this is not the main event. There's going to be another round of snow coming later today that I think is going to be a little bit more significant, especially for the eastern part of the state. Let's start 8 a.m. this morning, and we're talking about scattered light to moderate snow showers. No heavy snow, but scattered light to moderate snow. Notice across the eastern third of the state. Maybe some flurries around Grand Island, Kearney, but completely dry for now in the western part of the state. And not much wind out there. No matter where you are in the state, winds only around 10 miles per hour. So it's cold, but no significant wind chill factor just yet. So now let's just go in 3-hour increments here. Here we are at 11 a.m. So as that first round of snow starts to exit by 11 a.m., here comes round number 2. So at this point, in general, kind of the quietest period across the state. It looks like a late morning, just isolated snow showers in the east and isolated snow showers in the west. But also keep an eye on temperatures because this is the big cool down, the big cold front. So here we are at 2 o'clock, and notice how temperatures, a lot of places get into the low to mid 20s, maybe lingering in the teens in the northeastern part of the state. Still even winds across the state at this point. We'll call it breezy everywhere, gusts around 20 miles per hour, but notice where those temperatures are colder, it's going to be feeling a lot worse over in the panhandle at 2 o'clock of this afternoon. All right, so now here we are, homebound commute time. So notice for the Lincoln, Omaha area, it looks like just isolated snow shower activity. The scattered moderate to pockets of heavy snow will be in central and western Nebraska. And notice those single digits in the western half of the state, but still in the 20s for now. Southeastern Nebraska. And notice how things pick up for southeastern Nebraska as we get into the evening hours. Meanwhile, things really quieting down in the northwestern part of the state, but this is going to be probably the peak for the central part of the state, and it's starting to increase for southeastern Nebraska. Actually, I think the winds are going to come down a little bit just ahead of this cold front. So in southeast Nebraska, winds probably at 8 o'clock, only around 10 miles per hour, but they won't be that way for much longer. Notice how most have now dropped into the single digits or even below zero as this colder air pushes in. So now we're looking at 11 o'clock, and it's going to be late this evening during the early overnight hours. It's going to be, I think, the peak for southeastern Nebraska. And notice lots of moderate to, yes, heavy snow coming down, but the heavy snow isn't going to last very long. And look how the temperature now coming down for Lincoln and Omaha as well. Now just 9 in Omaha, 7 in Lincoln, 11 o'clock tonight. In a lot of places, 0 and colder than that. All right, here we are at 2 a.m. and I think past the heavy snow at this point in southeastern Nebraska, but still a lot of light to moderate snow showers. And meanwhile, for the central and western part of the state, looking really dry. And I do think it's going to get quite windy for southeastern Nebraska. So we're getting around 2 a.m. looking at gusts 40 miles per hour. Meanwhile, over in the western part of the state, kind of a transition to just breezy conditions. But any wind at this point is enough with these cold, cold temperatures. All right, 5 a.m. now, it's just isolated snow showers for southeastern Nebraska. And by the time we get to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm going to leave in the chance for southeastern Nebraska for maybe a few leftover flurries. Morning commute time tomorrow, but I think all of that flurry activity will be over with by lunchtime. And really the main story, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, are look at these cold temperatures. So we're talking about actual temperatures. That's what's being shown here, ranging in most places from around minus 10 to minus 20. But there's going to be wind as well, particularly in the eastern part, say gusts still around 35 miles per hour, but even over in the panhandle, still breezy. So everybody dealing with gusts 20 to as much as 35 miles per hour. So it's not going to be feeling this warm, and it certainly isn't warm, but look what it's going to be feeling like. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Just absolutely awful. At best, maybe in the southeastern part of the state, feels like temperatures minus 30, minus 35, but as you go to the north and west, look how we're talking about feels like temperatures minus 45, maybe as cold as around minus 50. Valentine looks like the coldest place. Can you believe that? Minus 52. But all of these temperatures just awful early tomorrow morning. So obviously the best place is going to be inside. But if you have to venture out early Thursday morning, I cannot stress enough. Extra layers, hats and gloves. Leave no exposed skin because, to be honest with you, frostbite with these kind of wind chills can occur in as little as 10 minutes. When you're talking about wind chills, minus 40, minus 50 degrees, and not much better in the southeastern part. So, with wind chills around minus 30, we can still see frostbite set in as little as about 20 minutes. So don't mess around. And also the outdoor pets. let them come inside, or make sure they have some shelter they can get into, an extra blanket, so they can get away from the wind and avoid the worst of these wind chills. Goodness me. Thursday morning. Now let's talk about snow totals. And notice a sweet spot in southeastern Nebraska. With that period I mentioned of heavy snow briefly, that could be just enough so that most of us in southeastern Nebraska are looking around 3.5 inches. But notice as you go to the north and west, those totals really coming down. So for places like Kearney, Grand Island, looking more like 2.5 inches. And there could be a really tight gradient, even from Columbus to Omaha. It could go from about 1.5 inches to 3.5 inches. And kind of the lowest totals look to be kind of in a little line, a little area right in the central part of the state. Notice, North Platte, Broken Bow, maybe only 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, inch. And then it goes up a little bit more towards the northwest, Scottsbluff around 1 inch, Mullen around 2 inches. But again, focusing on the sweet spot, though not crazy snow totals, but 3.5 inches looking most likely across much of southeastern Nebraska. And finally, before we wrap up, I want to talk about Thursday afternoon, all right? These are high temperatures Thursday afternoon, and it's no warmer than 0, maybe in the southern part of the state, and it could be as cold as -10. Notice pretty uniform in general across the state, and uniform winds as well, and not good. So Thursday afternoon, no matter where you are in the state, wind gusts are going to be around 45 miles per hour. So look what it's going to be feeling like Thursday afternoon. Honestly, not much better than Thursday morning. We're talking about the wind chills ranging from around -30 to as cold as -40.